I Googled relationship advice, and guess what I got, Yetta?
A lot of ideas, and I bet none of them are the same.
Well, you know what was interesting? I didn't check because there was over 2 billion results in under 1 second.
Wow. Okay.
Google's pretty amazing.
It is, but it also tells you how much diversity there is in relationship advice.
Yeah.
And how many people are giving it.
Well, and also how many people are looking for it. If that many people are giving it, there's got to be a lot of people looking for or struggling with relationships.
Why are you smiling when you say struggle with relationship?
Because it's a struggle with you, dear.
Nice.
Moving forward with the Decker team. Moving forward together with the Decker team.
The struggle is real.
The struggle is real. So we're excited to welcome you to another episode of Life's Inside Track. I'm Yetta Decker.
And I'm Ken Decker.
And we have just had a lot of fun creating tips, tools, techniques, thoughts, and truths that we all need, we all deserve. You, I, everyone. To turn our house into home where our families thrive and we live the best life possible. So in this episode, we're going to consider the types of relationship guides.
Yes, we are. Because, some of our relationships, it's trial and error. Have you ever noticed that? Every relationship seems to be trial and error, and you build relationships or tear them apart, one mistake or one great conversation at a time. And a guide helps us because a guide's been there before.
Well, hopefully a guide's been there before.
And they can help us walk through some of the challenges, struggles, difficulties, troubles in relationships. But it's important to know there's different types of relationships, right? Because a lot of times we talk about romantic relationship because we're married and we've been that way for 40 years, 40 and a half years. And so that's kind of a go-to. But sometimes we struggle with relationships with parents, relationships with our children, relationships in business, relationships with friends. And if we struggle and we've worked so hard, most people must struggle. I think it might be a universal issue.
I think it is. So when you're just thinking about relationships, although there's a lot of overlap from one to another, like how I bring me with me everywhere I go, right?
You
so
do.
I do. And
whether it's a business relationship, a friend relationship, or a family relationship.
Right. So there is some overlap in the types, but if I'm getting counsel about romantic or sexual relationship, that's going to be slightly different counsel than maybe if I'm looking for business counsel.
I would hope so.
I would hope so. Yes, I would hope so. And yet there is overlap. So something like integrity, doesn't matter which relationship we're in, if we don't have integrity inside the relationship, it's going to falter and it doesn't even look that different. So just really get clear, especially if you're using Google as your best friend to look for counsel, is to put the type that you're looking for, because you get over 2 billion in less than 1 second. It's a confusing world out there to find the right stuff.
Mm-hmm. And your guide, does your guide, I know you talked about before we started, coming on air, was mixed beliefs in guides doesn't really work.
No, like probably the single biggest thing that I would say has tripped me up more than any other thing is when I looked for a guide, whether it was a guide in real estate sales even. Like when I first started in the industry, I was looking for a guide to come alongside to help me get better at my craft. If they saw really, and there's so many different types out there, but if they were all about just get the dialogue or get the script, like learn what do they call them, scripts? Is that what they call them? When they teach you what to say and why?
A script or a dialogue.
Yeah. And it was all about knowing what to say so you could combat objections and all that sort of stuff. That never worked for me. That was the wrong guide. because I knew that if I came alongside and served you and took care of your concerns, but not looking that I had to have all the padded right words and saying it properly, and it wasn't about getting you to make the decision I wanted you to make, it was about listening to you. So if I had a guide that had a different business philosophy, which probably means they have a different life philosophy and a different belief system, it didn't work.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing in relationships.
Yeah, recently I was talking with my son, and he said somebody that he was talking with went to some counsel for their relationship, and they counseled them to have an affair so that they, I don't know why, like you could try someone else out or something. Or I've heard counselors say, oh, you need to watch pornography together. Well, if that's outside of your belief structure and your core beliefs, then that's just going to harm the relationship. So be careful.
So doing background research, like once you Google it and you find somebody that you feel like they might resonate, do a little Google, do a little Facebook research to find out whether you believe from what, because you can usually tell when you look from the outside. I mean, there's the odd person that hides who they really are, and it's different. But for the most part, it's pretty evident what someone's beliefs are based on how they show up in the world.
And the next thing is, are they a learner? Are they learned? Do they read? Do they watch podcasts? Do they watch TED Talks on the subject matter that you're asking them to guide you on around a relationship, whether it's forgiveness within a relationship or boundaries within a relationship, whatever it is, you want to make sure that they are learned.
And they have experience. Like if they don't have any experience, but they read lots of books, they ain't probably going to be that helpful.
Yeah, I remember Kevin Lehman, I think it was, said he wrote books on children and different things. And he had all these opinions, and then he had some of his children of his own, and then he realized, oh, I shouldn't have had any of those opinions.
Right? Like it didn't work, right?
Yeah.
And if you're thinking you want to just have a little more insight, a little more conversation on this and any other thing to do with really Life Exponential, we invite you to go over to doubledecker.life and jump onto the Community of 31 Life Step journey, because we cover quite a few modules on the actual relationship conversation.
We sure do. Another area you might want to check is, are they a professional in their field? Is that their profession? And then you also, if you can't meet them, if you can't afford or you can't get in front of them, maybe it's enough to find a guide that you read their material, you watch their seminars.
We've done that for years, right? Before we actually started going to events and going to meet our guides, which we have done now. But in the early days, I'd say it was VHS. I had a chat with a young man yesterday, and I was saying, my first stuff was on beta. And he goes, what's beta? I know what VHS is, but what on earth is beta? So if you know what a beta is,
machine.
A beta machine, a beta tape.
It's just like a VHS, just a different format.
That was just funny. Anyway, so there are going to be struggles in every relationship. Every relationship is work. There are no quick fixes. I've learned the hard way, as have you, right?
Yeah, and the good thing is the work is worth it.
It is.
So we're grateful to be partners in this journey of wealth, wisdom, and worth.
Moving forward with the Decker team. Moving forward together with the Decker team.